Thanks for the support as a channel member, Jason Odendahl. Yeah, I know I've spent the last 2 years telling it would be a disaster if Alex Williams left. As we enter this transfer window, I kind of want him to go. We've just turned £4 million down for Stephen Reid, our backup goalkeeper. I think it's his time. If we can get a big money offer for Williams now, he's got to go. We could reinvest £15 million, way more than we can reinvest £4 million for our backup keeper. The backup one's he's taller. You know I love a tall goalkeeper. Threat from corners. Hello and welcome to part 79 of Homegrown. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have two games for you in the Championship. We're at home against Ipswich and then also at home against our local rivals, Peterborough. Since you were last with me, we've continued our good run of form. We had a little bit of a 3-game patch there where we didn't win any games, but we have maintained an unbeaten run since October. But it's now our ground working against us because we've started to fall down the league table, not because we're losing football matches, but because we're not able to play them. Our last 2 home games have both been postponed due to a waterlogged pitch. If we'd have played and won them both, we would be top of the league. As it is, we're down in 4th place, 4 points off the top of the league with 2 games in hand. But you know how I feel about this kind of stuff. We've talked about it before. I'd always rather have the points than the games in hand because at least when you're in good form like we are, you can be confident of converting those games. If we hit bad form, the games are useless because we're going to lose them anyway. So we need to get those games in hand caught up ASAP. The Peterborough game in the second half of this episode is one of them. And then I think the other one comes in the week after. But of course, that does rely on the pitch not getting waterlogged again. The ground is in need of a lot of work. We're maxing out our home attendances every match now, and the pitch is rotten and waterlogged. We need, realistically, it's starting to feel like we need a new ground, but we've actually only been in this one for the last 6 years. So it's not that we need a new ground, but we need a massive rebuild. We need proper drainage and undersoil heating putting in so that we stop getting games postponed. And we need all of the terracing knocking down and 3 massive stands being built to get it up to a 20,000 capacity to get us ready for the Premier League. I think you do get a short stay of execution when you get into the Premier League, where you can play in a smaller ground for a little while, a la Bournemouth and Blackpool in recent years. I don't think 5,000 is allowed, though. In fact, I know it tempts fate a little bit, but let's have a look what the Premier League regulations are for stadiums. Minimum capacity is 12,500, all-seater, must have undersoil heating, and terracing's not permitted. So we don't come close to our ground being suitable for the Premier League. So I think if we do go up, we go to ground share for a time while we either build a new ground, which seems unlikely, or massively renovate the home of football, which I guess is more likely what we'd have to do. It depends which is cheaper, I guess. I'm sure Mrs Wearmouth has got a plan. And talking of Mrs Wearmouth's plans, this is what I was talking about in the little intro there. We've just turned down a £4.1 million offer for Stephen Reid, our 20-year-old backup goalkeeper who's supposedly only worth 87,000. We've immediately offered him a new contract to extend that and try and increase that a little bit. But we're in a weird situation now where after years and years of me saying we couldn't possibly sell Alex Williams because we have no possible replacement for him, the possible replacement is sat right there and either needs to leave or play football because he's not going to develop if he's sat on our bench. We can't really loan him out because we don't really have another goalkeeper. So for the sake of his development, bearing in mind he's another one who's got the potential to be a Premier League goalkeeper, we should probably sell Williams and go with Reid. He didn't let us down earlier in the year when he got his chance, but I don't know. It would have to be a massive offer for Williams. I'm talking 15, 20 million pounds this month that we can then reinvest this month in our Premier League promotion push. If we make it through to the summer, I think at that point, we probably send Reid out on loan next year and just continue to go with Williams. I think it's now or never for Williams leaving the club. If he doesn't go this window, I'd like to think we're in the Premier League next year and then he doesn't ever need to go. And then we just try and develop Williams as a backup somehow. But I think, to be honest, at that point, Reid, if we end up in the Premier League with Williams staying, Reid probably never makes it because he just won't get the game time. But he can sit on our bench forever and not fulfill his potential. And we also turned down a £1.4 million offer for Connor Roberts. I actually sat there pondering that one for a little while. I wouldn't want 1.4 million, but we are 2.5 million in debt. And I think as much as I've enjoyed Connor Roberts this season, the numbers don't really lie. Yeah, he's picking up a few more assists, but his average rating is still really not very good. 130 games in his career now, and he's only averaging a 6.75, 14 goals, 14 assists for a player who has played the majority of those games in an attacking role, either up front or as an attacking midfielder. He's only ever going to be an average player, I think. It does say potential to be a Premier League attacking midfielder in the future, but with Adam Blamplate coming through with more potential and already almost as good as Roberts, I think if we were to get 3 or 4 million for Connor Roberts, I think I'd probably take it. But the offer that we got before just wasn't quite enough. So you can see it was withdrawn because both of them were withdrawn because we were negotiating up. We didn't actually turn either of them down. We were trying to negotiate them up as high as possible. Because like with Reed, if we were to get 10 or 12 million for Stephen Reed as a backup goalkeeper, yeah, we'll have a bit of that. Thank you very much. But yeah, both of them ended up withdrawing because I pushed for too much. But we are in the January transfer window now. And although we're in a promotion push, expect business because of this. Because as long as this is in place, there's always the worry that Mrs Wearmouth will sell someone out from under me. And we do have ground renovations and things that we need to do. So we probably do need to sell a player. I'm just hopefully going to be in control of who that player is. We shall see. The other news, I can't remember. I think Renan was injured in the last game, in the last episode, but he is now fit again-ish. He's coming back into the team. But this is the side that we're sending out there to face Ipswich in the first of today's 2 games. We're going with Williams in goal, a back four of Francis, Davies, Lay and Brewerton, Curry and Alibasic in midfield, and then Renan, Roberts and Hughes supporting Hodgkinson up front. Hodgkinson's had a little run playing as a striker while Renan has been injured and has looked good up there. So we're keeping Hodgkinson up there for today with Renan out on the left. I'm certainly not against putting Renan back up front and having Micah Hamilton continuing on the left-hand side where he's been playing in the absence of Renan. We tried Alibasic up front again, and I think it's pretty clear to me at this point he's a midfielder, not a striker. So Alibasic is continuing in midfield, where he's starting to form a bit of a partnership with either Lay or Curry, depending on who ends up playing there. But it's Nathan Curry in there today with Brewerton in at the back. But we've got a lot of options. I like having a lot of options. And like I say, we are in good form. So fingers crossed we can pick up a victory today. That was some really poor defending. Just faffing about with the ball when we didn't really need to. It's not Harrison Davies' forte, knocking the ball around at the back. There's a reason neither of these two are listed as ball-playing defenders, because we don't want them messing around with the football the way they were there. But for whatever reason, they were just dawdling with the ball, knocking it back between them and Alex Williams, and very nearly cost us an early goal, which would have been most upsetting. But we got away with it, and now we're up the other end in the pouring rain. So we're lucky that we've not been waterlogged again today with the weather as it is. Curry playing it out to Francis on this left-hand side, who's made left-back his own this year. And we have a real good quality left-back in George Francis, who could be someone who's a part of this team really long-term at this point. Still only 18 years old. One of the highest potential players in the entire squad. I think we might even have our forever left-back there, which is very exciting to be able to say when we're still in the Championship. In fact, looking at the team, if players that we could potentially keep hold of, certainly Williams, Francis, I'm tempted to say Lay, all players who I could see being in Premier League winning teams further down the line. Alibasic in midfield, maybe, Renan. If we can get Hodgkinson back, I think he'd definitely be part of the mix. He's showing his versatility again with a goal today. You know how often I play him in midfield as well. He can play that attacking midfield role, but he's a big lad, Kieran Hodgkinson. Good in the air. Natural complete forward now, which I'm not playing him as because I've never really liked complete forward as a lone striker, but maybe that's what we go with. Maybe that's the key to him. Right, Nathan Curry has picked up a knock. The only midfielder we've got on the bench is Adam Blamplate. I don't really want to play him in central midfield, so I think what I'm actually going to do is bring on Mackenzie Fulton up front and put Hodgkinson back into the midfield again, which it must be frustrating. If anything, his career is hampered slightly by his own versatility because he can play in so many different roles. He's never really had that run playing as a striker. If all he could do as a striker, he'd be he'd be a 30-goal a season striker by now. But it's so easy in a situation like that. Well, I trust Hodgkinson. Let's get him back into the midfield where we know he's not going to let us down. I mean, he's grabbed another goal from midfield there. Nice little tap in, 2 for him for today. But I do wonder if he wasn't quite so versatile, would he be like 100 goals on the board now as a superstar striker for us? Would he even still be here if he had that kind of goal scoring record? Because he might have ended. I mean, he's on loan to us from Fulham. Remember, Fulham, who are in this promotion push with us, and they're probably looking across there, seeing he's scored 2 goals, thinking, "Can we recall him? Take those goals away from home. Please don't recall him, Fulham. That would make me very sad. I promise I'll give you money for him when we get promoted. That's always been the plan." Right, we're going to bring Tommy Jessup on the left wing for Renan, who's still recovering from his injury, was only recommended to play 75 minutes today, so we've given him the 70, and Jessup can come on and play on that left-hand side. Oh, there is a little piece of transfer news I forgot to mention as well. Eli Campbell has left the club for £500,000, and we did actually offer out Jessup and Cannon and Shay Charles as well. There was no interest in any of them. I want decent money for Jessup because he's a proven championship goal scorer, so I'd be expecting a 7-figure fee for Tommy Jessup. The other two, I'd kind of accept anything I was offered, but no one was really biting. But I think they're the 4 who, as we've had probably more so than ever before, a whole load of youngsters burst into the squad this year. I think it's probably time to move on some of the lads in their mid-20s now who probably aren't ever going to play regularly for us again. Right, final change. We're going to take off Euron Hughes and we're going to bring on Onyango, another one of those youngsters that we were talking about before. He's burst onto the scene this year. He is a left footer, so we'll make him an inverted winger on that right-hand side. And fingers crossed, hold on, in these last 10 minutes, Ipswich have got that goal back, got themselves back into the game. And what we don't want to do is let them all the way back in. And we have. And oh my word, we've got away with one a little bit there. Lay not quite using his physical dominance that I'd normally expect to see from him, giving the ball away. But Williams makes himself big and the shot ends up going wide. I'm going to give Alex Williams all the credit for forcing the ball wide there, even though he didn't even make the save. I am chairman of the Alex Williams fan club. But ultimately, we pick up the win. Another win for us, another extension of our long unbeaten run. George Francis has now picked up a knock, which probably means he's going to miss the Posh game that's coming up in midweek, which is one of our games in hand, and that is a big thing. Nathan Curry's broken his arm and is going to be out for up to a couple of months. And with Akani already injured, that probably does mean a return for Renan up front because Hodgkinson's likely going to be needed in midfield. We'll see what fitness levels and things are when we get into that Posh game. But I think that's probably what we're going to have to do. Oh, boys and girls, we might be about to have a perfect piece of transfer business. It couldn't be going any better if we pull off both sides of this deal. And we've had a new offer in for Stephen Reid, £7.5 million from Watford now. It's getting silly to the point where I don't think we can turn it down. We've accepted the deal on the basis that we sign this guy, Jack Green, who is at Liverpool. He's an 18-year-old Scottish under-21 international. He turns 19 in 2 weeks. We need to get this deal done quick. He's out of contract at the end of the season, but obviously he'll be 19 then. We can't sign him. We've got to buy him now. But he is a 2.5-star current ability player. So current ability better than Reid's, full 5-star potential. So potential better than Reid's. He's 2 years younger than him. If we do a direct comparison between him and Reid, Green is the one in green. You can see that Reid has him a little bit for aerial communication and mental, but Green is already better at distribution, shot stopping, physicals, and they're pretty much even for everything else. He's 6'6". It's an upgrade. If we can get £7.5 million for Reid and bring Green in for 325,000, we clear our debts. We give ourselves how much? £4-5 million to spend over the rest of this January to build a team to push us on to the Premier League. It just needs to go through, and I'm worried it's now not. I cannot believe a guy who's played 4 games for us we could be about to get £7.5 million for. Our youth setup, pretty good. On that note as well, we've accepted an offer for Shay Charles of 375,000, largely because another one is through off of the conveyor belt. This time it's a chap called Derek McGowan, who's an 18-year-old Irish under-19 international centre-back, 2-star current ability, 5-star potential. He's another of the future Premier League brigade that we are starting to build for our youth setup. He came through the youth team a few years ago. He's been out on loan at Bognor Regis, done a full season in the Vanarama South last year, and I've moved him up to the first team squad in anticipation. If Shea Charles leaves, McGowan just steps in, and it's another one. Campbell's already out of his way. Get Charles out of his way as well, and then it's going to be McGowan as the fourth choice behind Davies, Lay, and Barr as starting centre back. And at 6'2", at only 18, you know I like him big. Lovely, lovely stuff. This youth setup is really, really starting to pay off the huge investment we've put into it over the years, with some incredible talent starting to come through, as you've seen with Reed, with McGowan, and with many, many more examples. Blamplate's still very, very young. McCartan, was McCartan through our youth system? He was. Lovely. Oh, so happy. And this is the team, anyway, for the local derby, for the Peterborough game. And as speculated, I am sticking Renan up front and moving Hodgkinson back into midfield, which means Micah Hamilton makes his way back into the team. We're also bringing in McCartan, who's not fully fit, but he is going to be coming in at left back because of the injury to George Francis that we saw in the last game. McCartan, hopefully, can keep himself fit and get a little bit of a run in the team now, ideally at right back. Long term, it's going to be McCartan at right back and Francis at left back. But at the moment, McCartan's had a little bit of an up and down season with fitness, which is why we've largely gone with Brewerton and Curry at right back, as we have for the last several years. Let's just stick him to an attacking midfielder. So this is the team for the Peterborough game. Williams in goal, a back four of McCartan, Davies, Barr and Brewerton. Lay and Hodgkinson in midfield. And then Hamilton, Roberts and Hughes behind Renan up front. The one downer when it comes to transfer stuff, Euron Hughes wants to leave. We just turned down a £1.4 million offer from Dundee for him. He's worth 2.2 million, and he got in a grumpy because we turned down an offer of 1.4 million from Dundee United, not Dundee. Why you would want to go there when we're on the verge of the Premier League, I do not know. We've agreed that if they offer 2.4 million, we'll let him go. He wouldn't stay until the end of the season. He just properly dug his heels in and got a grumpy on. I'm just hoping Dundee United don't come in again for him, because I think he'll calm down once the transfer window ends. But we might be in a situation where we lose Euron Hughes, in which case we're then going to have probably Renan or Onyango or maybe Fulton having to play out on that right-hand side until we can bring in an adequate replacement. Maybe even Ali Basic can play out there. It's one of the roles that he's accomplished in, so he could potentially make that his role if Euron Hughes goes. But of course, if we do sell Reed, we're going to have a big bunch of money to spend. So it could be that we could go out and bring in a really good right midfielder who could just slot straight in for Hughes, and we barely even miss him. So we shall see how all the transfers develop. There's going to be big news tomorrow, one way or the other. Either that double deal collapsed and I'll be sad, or it all went through and we brought in another 3 or 4 young players and either made this team unbeatable and we're ready to storm the league, or brought in too many players in January when we were already looking good for promotion and I've just rocked the boat too much and it all goes wrong. It could go either way, and I'm fully aware it could go either way. But if we've got £4 or £5 million to spend for the first time ever in this save, you can be damn sure I'm going to spend £4 or £5 million before the end of the month, because if we're going up to the Premier League, we're going to have loads of money to spend in the summer anyway. So we may as well spend now while we can. If we can, maybe. We'll see. We're losing against Peterborough. Rubbish. Flynn Clark is still there. We're like 10 years in the future, and Flynn Clark's still at Peterborough. He's one of our youngsters in real life. That's quite exciting to see that he's still there with Posh as a decent championship side. Clearly, he's quite good. Although I'd rather he didn't score against us today. We've not really looked with it at all yet in this game. And this was our opportunity to get ourselves back up into the automatic promotion spots with one of our games in hand. And we're bottling it currently. Brewerton with the cross, looking for Micah Hamilton, who hits the crossbar. Renan is there on the follow-up, but it's the Peterborough defender who gets in first with the clearance. And now we've got the corner, and it's going to be McCartan looking for that in-swinger and finds Harrison Davies at the near post. Interesting to see McCartan, although he's considered either-footed, interesting to see him taking a corner with his left foot. My long-term plan is him as my right back, but is he more of a left footer? Does it really matter if he shows us either? Even though I guess he's got a slight preference for his left foot. He'll be fine playing at right back, I'm sure. Williams playing it to Barr. We've got 40 seconds left in this first half to try and find a breakthrough from somewhere. And it's Lay back to Barr, playing it out to Hughes on this right-hand side. Hughes has just faffed about with the ball too much and given it away. If his head's gone, I'm done with him, because he was never that special until this year. He's had a good 6 months, and now if he's ruining it all, I'm going to ruin him. We're 2-0 down, and it's all Euron Hughes' fault. We've got a new scapegoat, boys and girls, and he's completely brought it upon himself. And this is not part of today's script. This is what I mean about I'd much rather have the points on the board than the games in hand, because when we were supposed to play Peterborough previously, Nathan Curry was fit. But now we're having to play him without Nathan Curry, without George Francis. It's very frustrating. Stupid, useless pitch. Right, let's try and get back into the game. Renan with the corner. Davies heads over. We're going to go to an attacking mentality. We're going to demand more. We need to get ourselves back into this game, and it's going to be McCartan with the free kick, floating it over to Kieran Hodgkinson, but his header goes just over. And we need a breakthrough soon if we're going to make it back into this game. I mean, 54 points. We'd still be 3 points behind West Ham with a game in hand, but their goal difference is much better than ours. So it's not the end of the world. But looking at the XG, looking at all of the match stats, we're being absolutely robbed here. It's just local derby nonsense, and I don't care for it. Right, Renan is not having a very good day, so we're going to take him off and bring on Fulton. And we're also going to take off Hamilton, and we've got no one who can come on and play on that left-hand side. Where is Tommy Jessup when you need him? So Hamilton's going to have to stay on. Hodgkinson can come off. Hold on. We're going to bring Bland Plate on for Roberts. We want players to come on and change the game. And I'm going to take off the scapegoat, and we're going to bring Ali Basic on the right-hand side. And we're going to go with this. And we're going to see if bringing on 3 different attacking players is going to be enough to find us a route back into this game. This is Mackenzie Fulton's opportunity to make himself a forever hero. If he can grab us a couple of goals here to save the local derby. Fulton with a flick on. Ali Basic's there, but it's disallowed. I mean, that's got to be touch and go whether he's offside there from the flick on from Fulton. It is very marginal. I mean, he is just off, but does the linesman notice that in reality? I don't know that he does. We're not getting back into this, are we? It's just every now and again you get FM'd. Today, boys and girls, we've been FM'd, and it just so happens it was in a really, really important match. I'm going to thrash my arms, tell them they're all going to be in at training tomorrow. I am very cross with them, and I think I'm going to sell Stephen Reed to show them just how cross I am. What's an improved deal for... Hold on. I mean, are you aware? Are you aware what's just happened? We just lost. You're Harrison Davies. Sack him. Come back to me after we've won a game. Now is not the time, Harrison. Urgh. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.